His name is Noland Arbaugh. He is 29 years old. In August 2022, he went for a swim with friends. He dived into shallow water. He broke his neck. From that moment, he could not move anything below his shoulders. He could not feed himself. He could not type. He could not shake someone's hand. For a year and a half, the simplest things most people do without thinking were completely out of reach. Then, in January 2024, surgeons placed a computer chip the size of a quarter directly into his brain. And on a Tuesday morning, a few weeks later, he did something that no human had ever done before. He played chess using only his thoughts. No hands, no voice commands, no controller, just his mind and a cursor moving across a screen in response to nothing visible. This is not a story about the future. This is a story about what already happened and what it means for everything that comes next. Because there is a part of this story that almost nobody is talking about. A layer underneath the science fiction headlines that changes how you think about the technology entirely. We will get to that. But first, you need to understand what is actually inside his skull. The device is called the N1 implant. It is roughly 23 millimeters in diameter, about the size of a large coin. Inside that coin are 1,024 electrodes, each one thinner than a human hair. They extend into the motor cortex of the brain on flexible threads, positioned to detect the electrical signals that fire when you think about moving, not when you move. When you think about moving, the chip picks up those signals, processes them wirelessly, and translates them into digital commands that a computer can understand. It charges inductively, like a wireless phone charger, through the skull. Noland Arbaugh has been using his for over a year now. Thousands of hours of continuous neural interface use. He describes the experience as using a force to move the cursor, like something out of Star Wars, he said. But here is the thing about Noland's story that the headlines always skip. He is not alone anymore. And this is where the story gets interesting. As of mid-2026, 26 people around the world have received brain-computer interface implants as part of Neuralink's ongoing clinical trials. 26 people, walking around, living their lives, with computers in their brains. The trials are running in 4 countries: the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and the UAE. Participants include people with quadriplegia from spinal cord injuries, people with ALS, and people with severe speech impairments. One participant used the Neuralink device to narrate and edit a YouTube video using only brain signals. Another is learning to control a robotic arm. The voice trial is focused on decoding words directly from thought for people who have lost the ability to speak. Decoding words from thought, not from voice, not from movement, from the electrical patterns that form in the brain before a word is even spoken. And Neuralink is not the only company doing this. Synchron's Stentrode device is already FDA cleared and operating in patients without open brain surgery, inserted through a blood vessel instead. Precision Neuroscience has a flexible electrode array that sits on the brain's surface. BlackRock Neurotech has been running brain-computer interfaces in patients since 2004. The science fiction is not coming. It has been here for years. Most people just never noticed. In 1958, a Swedish engineer named Rune Elmqvist implanted the first pacemaker into a human patient. The patient's name was Arne Larsson. He was 43 years old. His heart condition caused him to lose consciousness dozens of times a day. The surgery was risky, and most of the medical establishment was deeply skeptical. Today, more than 4 million people worldwide have pacemakers. Nobody thinks twice about it. The thing that was once considered radical became ordinary, so gradually that most people cannot remember a time when it was controversial. The brain-computer interface is at exactly the same moment the pacemaker was in 1958. That is not a comforting comparison. That is a timeline. Experimental, risky, controversial, and operating successfully in real patients who would otherwise have no options. The question is not whether this technology will become normal, it is how fast. And the answer to that question depends on something most people have not thought about yet. Something that has nothing to do with the technology itself. The N1 implant achieves 8.0 bits per second of cursor control. Participants have logged thousands of hours of independent daily use, averaging 6.5 hours per day. 6.5 hours per day, using a computer. With their minds, Elon Musk announced at the end of 2025 that Neuralink plans to begin high-volume production of the implants and move toward an almost entirely automated surgical procedure in 2026. The robot doing the surgery, not the neurosurgeon. The FDA has granted breakthrough device designation to Neuralink for both its speech restoration technology and its blind sight project, which aims to restore functional vision in people who are blind, restoring vision through a chip connected to the brain. But here is the part that nobody is putting in the headline, and it is the part that will matter more than any of the medical breakthroughs. In fact, it is the part that changes how you think about this technology entirely. And it has nothing to do with paralysis or chess games. For the first time in human history, a commercial company is reading the electrical language of human thought. Think about what that sentence actually means. Every time Noland Arbaugh moves a cursor with his mind, Neuralink systems are recording and interpreting his neural signals. The company knows which patterns correspond to which intentions. They are building a data set of human thought that has never existed before. Who owns that data? What can it be used for? If a future version of this technology can decode not just motor intentions, but emotions, memories, or private thoughts, what are the implications? These are not hypothetical questions. They are questions that regulators, ethicists, and legal scholars are already asking, and nobody has clear answers yet. The Pacemaker never raised questions about data ownership. It did not generate information about its user that a corporation could store, analyze, or potentially share. The brain-computer interface is different. It is not just a device that restores function. It is a device that reads. Think about every other time a company has had access to your data. Your search history, your location, your purchase history, your social media behavior. Now imagine that data is not what you searched for. It is what you thought about before you decided whether to search. That is the frontier that brain-computer interfaces are moving toward. Not today, not next year, but the direction is clear. And once you put a reader inside the human mind, the questions that follow are unlike anything the technology industry has faced before. For the first time in human history, a commercial company is reading the electrical language of human thought. We have not yet decided what that means. The signal is not in Neuralink's patient count. The signal is in what the technology is moving toward. Neuralink's stated long-term goal is not to help paralyzed patients. That is the current application. The long-term goal, in Elon Musk's own words, is to create a generalized brain interface, a kind of symbiosis with AI, not a medical device. A general interface between the human brain and artificial intelligence systems. Researchers at the company are already exploring closed-loop systems where the brain not only sends commands, but also receives feedback. Touch, pressure, sensation. The brain sends, the machine receives, and eventually the machine sends back. There are 40 million people in the United States alone with some form of paralysis. There are roughly 1 million people with ALS worldwide. There are hundreds of millions with conditions that affect movement, communication, or cognitive function. Each one of those people is a potential Neuralink patient, not in 20 years. In the years when the technology moves from experimental to approved, to insurance covered, to standard of care. That is the trajectory the pacemaker followed, and nobody saw it coming at the speed it came. The pacemaker moment for brain-computer interfaces is right now. The technology works. The patients are real. The companies are scaling, and the questions that will define the next 50 years are only just beginning to be asked. If you want to keep seeing what is already happening before everyone else notices, this is where that happens. Every week, before the mainstream catches up, Noland Arbaugh is 29 years old. He played chess on a Tuesday morning using only his thoughts. He has logged thousands of hours of computer use with his mind. He described it as using a force, like something out of Star Wars. It is not out of Star Wars. It is out of a Tuesday morning in 2024. 26 people now live with computers in their brains. More are being enrolled every month. The surgical robot is being trained to do what neurosurgeons currently do. And Neuralink's long-term goal is not a medical device. It is a general interface between the human mind and artificial intelligence. The technology is not coming. It is already inside 26 people, and it is just getting started. The only question is what comes next.